Americans, we need to recognize that we are doing the same thing. We need to understand that terms like pro-choice and reproductive rights and family planning are nothing more than marketing slogans. They're just code words that organizations like Planned Parenthood use to hide the fact that we're voluntarily submitting to the will of those who have been trying to exterminate us since the day slavery ended.
At the beginning of this program, we told you that the Ma'afa didn't end with the freeing of the slaves, and that in fact, it hasn't ended yet. Now you've seen the rest of the story. Now you know that legalized abortion is more than just a crime against humanity. It is also the continuation of a 150-year-old racial agenda that was founded in black genocide. And I hope that you have also come to see that as long as abortion remains legal, the Ma'afa cannot end. Thanks for watching.
Brothers and sisters, it is time.
Yes, it is. Amen.
Brothers and sisters, it's time for us to go to the streets on this issue.
Yes, it is.
Amen. We need to be in the streets on this issue.
Amen.
If we look the other way, while our smallest brothers and sisters are being lynched in the room, we lose the right to be outraged.
Come on.
That we were once lynched by the Klan. When white supremacist Tom Metzer tells his followers to invest their money in ghetto abortion clinics, he's not talking about reproductive rights. He's talking about reproductive racism.
Yes, he is. Oh, no.
When two guys write a book talking about Steve Levette, John Donahue, when two guys, Steve Levette and John Donahue, write a book in which they claim that the high rate of abortion keeps the rate of crime down, be assured, they know that a vast majority of American abortion clinics are in black neighborhoods.
Oh, yes, they do. Oh, yes, they do. Come on.
They know they're in the minority neighborhoods. What we need to understand is when we let Planned Parenthood into our schools, when Planned Parenthood put their death camps, when we let them put their death camps in black communities, in our communities,
That's right.
and when we sit back and let an elected government official take money out of our paycheck to pay Planned Parenthood, we have been played like fools.
Oh, yes, we have. Jesus. That's what's going on.
The fact is, if we tolerate something as evil as abortion, we cannot be surprised if it turns around and is used against us.
Well,
We can't be surprised if it's turned around and used against us. We can't be angry if it's turned around and used against us. Notice for sure, as long as abortion is legal, in America we will never be able to stop it being used to commit black genocide.
that's right.
Amen. We'll never be able to use it as a weapon for what I call the Ma'afa.
Well,
the fact is, if we tolerate something as evil as abortion, we cannot be surprised or angry when it's turned against us. Said that one, didn't I? You know it's easy, you know it was easy to spot the enemy when he was a redneck, toothless redneck. Probably spent about 3 years trying to get past the 4th grade. But today, our enemy don't wear white hoods.
no, they don't. Come on, man.
Today, our enemies wear a white lab coat
Yes, yes, they do.
with a stethoscope around his neck.
Yes.
And what gets really aggravating sometimes, like a pimp, sometimes he's black.
Come on. Say it. That's right.
And this is not about political parties either, because there's a reason I'm an independent. Both the Republican Party and Democratic Party have been in bed with Jezebel
Yes.
and the eugenics business for more years than you and I have been alive.
Come on. That's right. That's it.
I will also tell you this, every time we vote for politicians who tell us they are pro-choice, it's like we're spitting on the graves of our ancestors.
That's right.
Our Our ancestors did not break the chains of slavery.
No, they didn't.
They didn't escape the plantations and the cotton field just so we could actually then take power and give it to political people who were there to wipe us out.
Jesus. That's right. Amen.
We need to remember
Come on now.
why there were civil rights groups
Yes.
Yes.
that fought against abortion in the 60s.
That's right.
Well,
We need to understand what it was that Harold Crawford and Irma Carver and Craven was talking about. Long before abortion became legal in this nation, when they stood up and they noted there's a real connection between poverty, abortion, and genocide.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
They understood it.
Oh, yes, they did.
amen.
Folks, you know, it's time we looked at what's been done to our children.
Come on now, Pastor.
I had the privilege of meeting Mamie Till in Chicago years ago.
Yes.
She complimented us on what we were doing.
Yes.
And my heart was really moved sitting next to her and having this lady look me in the eye and tell me that.
Yes.
Because you remember Emmett Till. And we have to remember what happened.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
When he was beaten and bludgeoned
Yes.
so bad
Yes. Yes. Yes.
that most of the time people say, whoa, there's got to be a closed casket. His mother decided, no, no, no. She demanded an open casket because she wanted the world to see what they had done to her baby.
That's right.
Amen.
That's right.
And it's time we now look and not look away and look what has been done to our children in the womb.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
It's womb lynching.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Come on now.
Now the point is not that killing a black child is worse than killing a white child.
No.
It's not. Regardless of the victim's skin color,
That's right.
eye color,
That's right.
or hair color,
Come on now.
legalized abortion is a crime against all humanity.
Amen. Amen. That's
Every one of us. But it's also, it's like a loaded gun aimed right between our eyes.
Jesus.
Well,
And every time we walk into a voting booth
Oh, yes. Come on.
and we help elected politicians who says he pro-choice, by pulling that lever, every time we pull that lever for a pro-choice, we pull the trigger on that loaded gun.
Come on now. You say so.
And a child dies.
Oh, Lord.
amen.
Yes.
It's all right. Come on now.
That's true regardless of what party they're in.
That's right. Amen.
That's true regardless of what office they're running.
That's right.
Well.
Amen.
You and I know there's a lot of pro-choice politicians. They will concede. They'll say, oh, well, yes, we know that abortion is the taking of a human life. They'll admit that. And then they turn around right around and say, but it should be legal.
Yes.
Well,
And I have to wonder, why? No, in fact, I don't have to remember why. I just wonder how many
Come on. Amen.
of these politicians who know that abortion is mass murder tolerate it because they think the right people are being murdered.
well,
Jesus.
Now, I don't know the answer to that question. But I do know this. I know that if the Klan, with or without their hoods,
Come on.
were to open up a whole chain of abortion clinics,
Right.
and they were to concentrate them in black communities,
Right.
we would be smart enough to know what's going down.
Yes.
Amen.
Yes. Amen. Amen.
But I'm telling y'all something, brothers and sisters. We shouldn't be smart enough to know what's going down now when Planned Parenthood and these other abortion businesses do the same
Do
thing.
this. Exactly. Thing. That's right.
The time has come for us to wake up.
Yes.
The time has come for us to realize that we, our people, are no longer being illegally lynched one or two at a time.
Well,
At the end of a dirt road.
yeah.
It's time for us to realize that our people are being wrong lynched.
Yes.
It is time to realize they are being legally ripped to shreds by millions in air-conditioned rooms with sweet, soft elevator music playing in the background.
Help us, Jesus.
It is time for us to realize that we are in a war. We're in a war that if we don't become involved and we try to look the other way, it's going to wipe us out. It's called black genocide. It's time that we realize we have found the weapon of mass destruction, and the weapon of mass destruction is the suction machine in Planned Parenthood.
That's right. Amen. That's right.
Amen.
Knowing what we know now,
Yes.
we can no longer look the other way.
Well,
To end this mouth in the 21st century, we as a people will have to do something. To do nothing is not an option.
well.
The only question left to answer is, what are we going to do about it?
Let's check out my brother, Omar Johnson, family.
Side. Okay, miseducation is essential in order for oppression to really deal with the black male problem that they have here in America. Miseducation has three primary components. Number one, to teach the black boy to hate himself. Number two, to teach the black boy to love white people. And number three, to effeminize and, if possible, homosexualize the black boy. Those are the three main goals of education: teaching of self-hate, teaching of white love, and to effeminize or homosexualize the black male, which means to break his spirit. And one of the reasons why so many of our boys drop out of school is because the way they are treated. I always say there's no such thing as a black male dropout rate. There's only a black male push-out rate. Our boys are pushed out of school by the treatment they get from a predominant female teacher base and a predominantly white female teacher base. You have to understand, public education is the coming together of middle-class white women and poor black boys. Middle-class white women and poor black boys. Two populations that this society, for most of its history, have tried to keep apart. So a white woman generally has a fear and a contempt for the black male. How can you teach someone if you fear him or hate him or is not safe in his company? So if we want to improve the education of black boys, then they're going to have to be taught by black men.
Because all that self-hate, man, is ridiculous stuff that we got out here.
Exactly. There's basically four types of schools you can have. You can have a religious institution, a public school, a charter school, or a private school. Now, religious schools are the most free of all of those four types I just named. Okay, if you have a religious school, then the oversight by the State Department of Education is minimal because it's religious. They have the most power in terms of educating their own. Public schools and charter schools, which are a form of public schools, constant oversight. Okay? Private schools, which is like what your brother Marcus Klein is doing here in Chicago, that's the best route to go, because a private school, for many intents and purposes, is almost like an independent country. You get to set your own laws. Now, there's certain federal and state mandates you have to follow, but you have a lot more control over the day-to-day operation of your school. And I think as a community, we have to look at private schools to properly educate our black boys. There's no way we can leave them in public schools and charter schools and expect them to be the type of men we need them to be. The primary goal of public education is to socialize. The primary goal of education is to socialize. I always say that your son probably can't read, but he knows the Pledge of Allegiance. Can't write his name, but he knows the Star-Spangled Banner. Okay, can't do math, but he knows who George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, and Abraham Lincoln was, although all three of them were anti-African presidents. So the purpose of public education is to socialize. And that is one of the biggest reasons why we have this great homosexual threat, because now